referendum booklets. They're
Yep.
in the mail.
Yep.
People are reading them. The date been set for October 14th. The vote for whether or not we'll change the constitution.
Yep.
Will you? Well, you know a little bit more than me about this, but I've been having a little look on, into it for the last year or so. They've been talking about it. Even though it's been in the pipeline for a lot longer than that. But yeah, where do you stand on it? Real quickly, me, I'm voting yes.
Yep.
And I'm assuming you are as well. But yeah, hopefully we can just talk about some of the things people that might be leaning towards no, or vehemently leaning towards no might bring up as well. But and just have a bit of a chat about it. What do you reckon?
I think we'd be. It's time.
Yeah.
I'll be voting yes. It's time. We're the only country in the Commonwealth, essentially, that has got similar groups, that hasn't got a treaty or acknowledgement in their constitutions for Indigenous people. It's fucking 2023. Like, it's over 100 years since we've become our own country, and I think it's definitely time that we have the acknowledgement in there for Indigenous people. And look, I've heard, a lot of the strawman arguments and bullshit arguments that have come out for the no, and I still have not yet heard a genuine reason to vote no, because all I keep seeing is scare tactics. The common one saying, it'll give them the authority to take people's land and property and all that shit. Like, fucking, it's just a scare tactic, right? It's not what this body is designed to be. They're not going to have the power to do that. They are simply just an advisory body. Well, it's not simply. This is quite important, but they are an advisory body to the government on Indigenous issues. So the government can choose not to listen to that advice. They can choose to listen to that advice. But they do not have the power. They're not a body that's going to be able to go, all right, the government's one thing and we are our own entity. That's not what it is. And they're Indigenous issues that they're talking about, right? So health, education, even the movements of Indigenous people. So I don't know if you're aware, but back when we had the 2000 Sydney Olympics and they were building Homebush, they got the Indigenous people from around the Redfern area and surrounding areas and moved them off country, so off their traditional lands. And we're seeing the flow-on effects from that even now in different areas, because that wasn't an isolated incident. Happened around Kempsey on the north coast of New South Wales. It's happened in Queensland. It's an ongoing thing, and that's an incredibly important thing for Indigenous people to be moved off their traditional lands. And what we're seeing from that is the younger generations are running amok because they haven't got that connection to country. They haven't got the connection to their elders. It's issues like that this voice is going to be extremely important for, because when decisions like that are made, this body will go in and say, hang on, you can't just do that. You can't fucking do that. This is why it's important to us. And they're going to have impacts on those decisions. It's not going to affect the economy. It's not going to affect anybody who's not essentially Indigenous, and all I can see from the scare tactics is some people are misinformed. They haven't read into it. They haven't read the document themselves. Then they haven't even read the statement from the heart. So they're not aware of the surrounding issues or the build up to this. They're listening to media sources or sides of politics that some of the arguments are just flat out fucking racist. Like, you can't deny that. Pauline Hanson is the most racist bitch getting around, right? And if you're listening to her about these issues, you're a fucking idiot. There's no other way to put it. Because she is very trying to, for lack of a better word, she's just looking for or pushing her agenda. This is the woman that was pushing the White Australia policy back when she was running for Parliament. So, if you're listening to her as a source of information on this, you're going to get a very one-sided argument and a very biased, racist argument from her with that. So.
Yeah, but even going to, I completely agree with you, and even going to the more mainstream media punditry like Andrew Bolt, who again that trying to do the reverse racism card, say, oh look, this is racist and divisive. This gives one race of people more political power than another, and we've already had too many advisory boards and they didn't work. But I think what they're doing by trying to make it about race, their side, they always say that the other side are race baiters, but these guys, when it suits them, they're more than happy to bring up racism. But I don't think it's race based. It's community based.
It's not. It's it's an advisory body for the Indigenous people, because over the 100 so years that we've been a country, we have neglected Indigenous people, right? In so many ways. Up until the 60s, they were flora and fauna, right? And they're still not mentioned in the Constitution. Still not recognised as people within the Constitution. And I've heard it's divisive argument. There's a very simple response to that at the moment it's divided because they're not recognised. If you want to be equal, you've got to have an equal playing field. And by doing that, they have to be recognised within the Constitution. At the moment, everybody else is recognised through wording. Indigenous people are not. So but even the divisive argument is a bullshit argument.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work because, there is a divide. Okay, and like you said, it started hundreds of years ago, and this community, you're right, that's just asking for it to be recognised in the Constitution and to be allowed and to have funded and something that can give you advice and consultation from their communities. A community that doesn't really and doesn't necessarily and has been destroyed since our community, which this whole system is based on, and which they're trying to just, advise that system.
Yes,
it's not divisive. It's actually, it's progressive. It's going forward. It's like, okay, look, we are divided. How about we just start listening to each other? Now, again, the people that are responsible for pushing these things into laws and to actually bring forth the social change, that's elected democratic people. They're your MPs, and they have the last say, which means we have the last say. Really, we do. We still have the last say.
That's right.
Okay, but we should be listening to everyone. I think the more consultation from anybody is always going to be good. And why not help heal the divide by like you said, recognising them as a First Nations people, and in the Constitution, and making sure that when we are making decisions on their communities, and that's the key thing here. When we need advice, when we're making decisions that affect their communities, we should speak to them.
But not only their communities there as well. Like we've spoken in the past about traditional methods for fires, for fighting fires and hazard control and those sorts of things. So that's where it does come into a whole country scope, and that's how stupid are we to not look at how it has been done for 40,000 years and learn from that, or get advice on that. So that's where policy changes, or reduction of funding and all those sorts of things. Advice in those circumstances, like you can't ever have enough advice when it comes to those sorts of things that are going to turn out and kill people. But the other thing is there has been bodies like this in the past. And by putting it in the Constitution, all it's going to mean is that they can't be abolished when a new government comes in. The exact same system, similar system, won't say exact same, but a similar system was put in maybe 10 years ago, or it was in there and 10 years ago and abolished when the change of government came in. Because it was put in by one government and the other government turned around and said, no, get rid of this. I still can't find a reasonable answer for that, apart from the people that were supporting that particular party were saying, get rid of it. And then the basis for that was racist. So I know there's a lot of people that are trying to dodge that word and trying to, as they always do, they don't want to be seen as racist, and they'll come up with every other bullshit argument and reason behind it. But if you have a good look at what it is asking for, what it is going to be able to do, what it's not going to do, and your answer is still no, then probably need to have a good hard look at yourself as to the real reason why you don't want Indigenous people acknowledged in the Constitution.
But let's go there as well. So a lot of people say, oh, look, there's not that much information about it. First, but before we do kind of hit on a little bit more the factual sides of it, you can go to voice.gov.au and everything you need to know is there. I'm telling you right now, everything is there. It's laid out very simply. It has been there for a while. Go check it out. Do your own research. There's pamphlets coming through your mail right now that have lots of great information. But if we were to put it simply, all right, what's going to come through your what's going to be on your ballot paper, all right, this is all simply that's going to be on it, and you only have to vote yes or no. The proposed law to alter the Constitution to recognise the First Peoples of Australia by establishing an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice. Do you approve of this proposed alteration? That's all they're asking, okay? Now, here is the amendment. So this is what you're asked to vote yes or no about, okay? This is the amendment of the Constitution. All right. So in recognition of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as First Peoples of Australia, 1, there shall be a body to be called the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice. 1. So there's only 3 things here that they change, and that's one of them. The second one is the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice may make, sorry, just make it smaller, may make representations to the Parliament and the executive government of the Commonwealth on matters relating to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Okay, so first off, they're talking about, this is the second thing now. First thing is there's going to be a body. Second thing is that they're just going to make recommendations and representations to the executive government and Commonwealth on matters relating to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Third thing and last thing, the Parliament shall, subject to this Constitution, have power to make laws with respect to matters relating to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice, including its composition, functions, powers and procedures. So the Parliament, our elected representatives, they're the ones that get to, basically, they can make laws about that thing.
Oversee it, yeah. Like, so, that's what I don't understand
Yep.
Yeah, and it's just because of a lot of it's misinformation, right?
Yep.
Those 3 things that you mentioned, to break that down even more, it's going to be a body. They're an advisory body overseen by the government. That's and relating to Indigenous issues.
Yep.
Like, I don't know.
And the fact that they recognise it, the reason why they're doing that is because they are the First Peoples of Australia.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that's beautiful. I think it kind of it not only recognises that they're the First Peoples, but it makes sure that at least that there's some consultation when it comes to the matters relating to their people. So look, I don't have an issue with that. I think that's, like you said, it is a bit shameful that we're one of the last people in the G7 and the Commonwealth and this side of the civilized world, we like to say, that that we're going to be the last. I like when Australia is the first, and when we're out there, being the best and our innovative selves.
Yep.
So
it's going to be interesting, and we'll keep everyone updated as we're leading into it, just to see how it's going. And if you've got thoughts on it, please get at us. Ask us questions. We're not the all knowing, but us, like you, have got all the information we need at our fingertips. But what we can do is talk through it and maybe explain it a little bit more, because that's been the biggest. A lot of the questions that people have asked me leading up to this is clarification. There's been that confusion, and then they throw a bit of misinformation at people, and then the fear kicks in. Like it's been shameful, actually, from media sources, how dishonest they have been with this.
Sky News, dude.
Man, Sky News is just absolute
I'm so
puddle
shocked
of shit.
Yeah.
Like it is
of
just
how bad they've gotten. Yeah.
Yep. It's, I mean, and this is for anyone watching, if you're still looking at Sky News as your main source of news, maybe reconsider it, because it's not just this issue. There's multiple issues. They're turning into Fox in America.
They're turning into Fox in 2007 type Fox, and then they're just going to get worse and worse. But no, it is what it is. What they're run, but by the same people. It's the News Corp. But no, yeah, continue.
Anyway.
Garbage. But
anyway, yeah,
we gave their point of view. I brought up Andrew Bolt's comments. Being the literal devil's advocate. I think leading up to we got like 6 weeks left or something now.
Like that, yeah. I'd be more interested to hear people's actual questions and thoughts, because I don't want to buy into the rumours and speculation at all. Because you could go for days with some of the garbage that they're spoken about. But
and there are there's legitimate people that are like, look, I haven't heard a lot about this. To me, there are people out there who's just like, look, I just see everyone the same.
Yeah.
We can't, and maybe they don't have that lived experience, and they can't understand the worldview of someone else who, an Indigenous person wanting this recognition and wanting this advisory.
All the time in the world to talk people through that, right? Yeah. And all the time in the world to if someone doesn't understand it and they say, I don't know what it is, explain it to me. Fuck yeah, let's sit down, let's talk about it. Like, I'm happy to talk people through, and if at the end of us talking about it they're still not sure, then I obviously haven't done a good enough job, or they might need to source some information for themselves. But please don't just buy into the scare tactic garbage.